Hello, everyone, and welcome to our OCFS FAMS Comprehensive Background Check or CBC process for childcare providers technical assistance session. Before we get started, I do have a couple of brief housekeeping items I did want to go over for today. First one is that all lines are muted. You probably figured that out. However, we do encourage you to ask questions today. This is a technical session, so if you do have questions, you can pop those into the Q&A box. If you do not see the Q&A box, you'll go to the bottom right of your WebEx panel. You'll see a question mark. Click that and that will open the Q&A box, or you might see three little dots. Click those and that will allow you to see that box and open it. Now note for the Q&A, you will only be able to see your question until questions are answered. So you'll put a question in there. As it becomes answered, you'll be able to see other people's questions and responses and the responses to them. So we do encourage you to ask questions and we will answer those throughout today's session. Lastly, this presentation is being recorded, so if you need to step away, not to worry. We will post it to the FAMS CBC website, which I will show you a little bit later today. Before we get started with our demo, I am going to pass it over to Patty Burns from OCFS to get us started out.
Good afternoon, everybody. We really appreciate everybody coming out today and taking time out of their schedule to join us for these sessions, especially technical assistance. I know there's been a lot of questions and a lot of outreach from providers to the mailbox with questions on how to do things or issues they're seeing or having. And we really think that these technical assistance meetings will help everybody. There is no training hours connected to this. This is strictly tech for your technical assistance, for your assistance with doing the CBC clearances. But we are getting some positive feedback about how how it's going, and we are continuing to look at improvements. So we really appreciate everybody coming out and giving us your feedback and learning more about the process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Patty. Our agenda for today is a brief one, but we'll be covering a lot of content. What I'm going to do for you today is go over the CBC process in FAMS so we can all see it from start to finish. We're going to go over things such as requesting a waiver. We'll touch on the active staff list, and then we'll go through adding a new CBC for an individual. And then I'm also going to show you the FAMS CBC Process Training Center and support. So Kelly asks first question, where can I access the webinar from 524? It was just posted to the FAMS CBC Training and Support Center, I think last night or this morning. So I'll show you at the end of today where you can access that. And Desiree, Melissa, and Patty, please feel free to interrupt me as I go along if there are any questions that pertain to what I am talking about. I'll pause every once in a while just to see if anything has come up. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to pull over my screen. Now, I am going to be in what's called a test environment today. I am recording today's session and I want you to know that I am not using any live data. So everything that we're going to look at today mirrors exactly what you see in your account. But note that for today, I've created a fake childcare provider called Lily Perkins Childcare. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So the new automated background checks process went live just about 2 weeks ago on the 15th of May. As a licensed provider, as a registered licensed provider, you should have received an email from POP at OCFS. This email invited you to create an account in FAMS if you had never accessed FAMS before, or if you'd already accessed FAMS, it indicated that you should log in and the new background checks process information would be there. So after logging into FAMS, this is the page that you're brought to. Some general information at the top here, and what you need to do to get to background checks is you need to come to the center of the page, because what you're probably noticing right now is that up here you don't see anything related to background checks, not seeing anything down here. So what you're going to want to do is come to your programs. This will list all of the programs that you have access to. And what you're going to do is click on the name of the program that you would like to request a waiver for or complete the CBC process for. Oh, Rita, the screen. I can make it a little bigger and so can you. I don't know if it'll be at the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen, but yeah, I can make this a little bigger. There we go. How about that? We can do that for today. You all can also make your screen bigger. If you hover at the top or the left side of your screen, you'll see a little plus and a minus symbol, and that will allow you to enlarge it on your particular device. All right, so after logging into FAMS, you'll then click on the program, like I said, um, that you uh, would like to do a background check process for. You might see just one program here, or you might see many. So I just have one program, Lily Perkins Childcare. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Lily Perkins Childcare, and that now brings me to my facility dashboard. You'll see grant opportunities available to you, open childcare slots, applications, etc. Where you want to go next is in the top gray bar. You'll click the background checks option and you'll see two things here. You'll see request a waiver and staff list. Today we're going to go over first requesting a waiver. We'll then take a look at the staff list and then we'll enter in a new background check. So requesting a waiver. What is requesting a waiver? So what this means is, oops, gotta log in again. Hold on. I got this all set up ahead of time, right? But I must have set it up. I'm just going to pause my screen while I do this. So I must have set this up and it timed out on me, right? Isn't that fun? I've had this open for a couple of hours now, so I will just going to log in behind the scenes. Oh, great. Here we go. So I'm going to unpause my screen. So after selecting request a waiver, you're going to be prompted to answer a question. It says, has this person been fingerprinted at another program or are they currently CBC approved? Um, what this means is if somebody has come from another program, right, and they're already have been fingerprinted or they were currently CBC approved, and this has happened within the last 5 years, and they have not had a lapse of working in a child care facility for 180 days or more within that 5-year time frame. If you can answer yes to this question, then they can be waived into your program, which means they can be added to your active staff list. So how might you know that somebody was CBC approved? Maybe they are coming from another program and potentially they have showed you or given you their CBC approval letter so you can see that they were approved, 18 months ago and they've been consistently working at that particular program. So if you can answer yes to this question, you'll be prompted to enter in additional information. Um, what happens is you'll fill out everything that is required. So everything with a star or asterisk next to it in red is required. You'll fill all of this out. Then your regulator will be notified. They'll come in and they'll see if they can match up those fingerprints for this individual. If they can match up those fingerprints, then this person will be added to your active staff list, which we will look at in just a minute. Now, I enlarged my screen and somebody just said, I don't have CCFS2. You shouldn't. I'm in a test environment, so I have a couple more bells and whistles than some of you do have. All right, so for today, let's add in Mary. We'll give her the last name of Lopez. We'll pick her birth date here. We'll say she was born in, oh, let's go with the year. Let's go with 1998. That was a good year. We'll say that it's almost her birthday, right? Maybe tomorrow's her birthday. Next, you'll enter in if you have the previous facility ID. Now, This is not required. It is very helpful to have, but if you don't have it, that's okay. There is a place on the OCFS website where you can find this information if needed. Maybe we don't have it for today, so we're just going to put in her previous facility name, which was Little Scholars. Next, we will select the requested role. The roles you see here will be dependent on your modality. I think this is a DCC. So if you're a DCC or SAC, you might see some of these options. Mary would like to be, I'd like to see if I'd like her to be an employee. Requested by, this is the name of the individual that is logged into FAMS. And then the facility ID you want to waive her into. This would be your facility ID and the name of the facility. So I am Lily Perkins Childcare. Let me spell the word care right. And now you'll click Add Facility. So what's nice about this is that if you do have multiple programs, so say you run an after school program and you have multiples and you'd like this individual to be able to work at more than one facility, you can, if desired, request that they be waived into multiple facilities. So maybe I have a Lily Perkins East and a Lily Perkins West, right? So we'll do Lily Perkins Child Care East and add facility. And now when you click submit, your regulator will be notified. They'll go in and see if they can match up those fingerprints. And then if they can, Mary here can be waived into both of these facilities. Now, as you see here, there are some different actions. You can edit a facility once you've entered it. So maybe, oh, it's not Lily Perkins Childcare, it's Lily Perkins East Childcare. So after you, or West, after you select edit, it'll bring you back here. You can select, you can make any changes and click add facility, and it now has changed it down here. What if you don't want to actually have them be added, be waived into both facilities? If desired, you can remove a facility with the delete action here, and this will delete it. So a couple of questions I'm seeing coming in about CBC approval. So Aaron asks, what if the employee worked previously for your program with 180 days and they were taken off the license? So if the employee is CBC approved and it's within the 5-year clearance period and there has not been a break in childcare employment for over 180 days, then that you can request a waiver. So it's 5 years, just to be clear, without a break in childcare employment for more than 180 calendar days. All right, so now we're going to select the save button and you'll get a little you'll get this little green bar that says a waiver request has been sent to your regulator. Once fingerprints have been matched, you will see the staff member on your staff list and you'll be able to enter their 6,000 packet. So note that you will not be notified when this individual is added to your active staff list. So we do recommend that you come back, once a day or so to see if they have been added. And as always, if you do have any questions, please reach out to your regulator and they can assist you. So that is requesting a waiver. I know Melissa and Patty and Desiree, we have had a lot of questions about requesting a waiver. Anything we want to address before we move on?
I think the only thing that we would like to stress is that you, when requesting the waiver, wait until they show up on your active list and then start entering the 6,000 packet information. Um, if if they don't show up in a few days, reach out to your regulator and they'll be able to tell you. I'm hoping that the regulators are reaching out to you if they're not eligible for a waiver. And that way you'll know right away and then you can send them for the fingerprint appointment. But we would request that really the fingerprint drive the process because it'll go a lot quicker and there's nothing to do on the back end but if you can't get an appointment for your fingerprint for, a period of time and you want to get started on the other clearances, we have allowed that option. But really once they're fingerprinted or their fingerprints are waived into the program, they'll immediately show up on your active list and then you can just start entering information.
Great, thank you for that, Patty. And if they have been fingerprinted and CBC approved, there are still some pieces of the CBC that you need to complete, even if they have been fingerprinted, even if they have been CBC approved already. All right, so now let's take a look at that active staff list. So this time I'm going to go to background checks and I'm going to go to the staff list. And Paul, we're going to get over entering the 6,000 packet momentarily. So I wanted to show you this fantastic new option for all of you. This is your active staff list, and this is going to provide you with transparency, and it's going to show you some great information about all the active staff at your program. So at the top here, you can search a staff list by name, by their role, and by their clearance status. You can apply many filters or just one. You can also clear a filter with the clear button. Show active staff only. So by default, this list right here will show only those staff that have that are active in your program. If somebody has been expunged from your program and you would like to see them as well, you will deselect this checkbox. I don't have anybody here, but if I did, it would show their status here as inactive. You can also add new staff. So as Patty mentioned, OCFS recommends that the individual does get fingerprinted first or waived into your program if possible. However, if they can't get a fingerprinting appointment or they're going today and you want to get them added, you want to start that entering that 6,000 information, you can always click the new staff button here. Coming down to our table below, we have our staff name, the role or roles they have been assigned, their date of birth, their status, when they were fingerprinted, their status clearance, any outstanding requirements. So if somebody is going through the CBC process and they have not been cleared yet, you'll see a hyperlink here in this outstanding requirements column. Clicking on the hyperlink will show you all the requirements that are necessary to process that individual's CBC. Some of these may be requirements that you need to fulfill, others might be on the regulators end, and so forth. Days remaining. So might be of interest to some of you. As mentioned, you'll hear this a lot. So clearances need to be done every 5 years as long as there is not a lapse in working at a child care facility for 180 days or more. And days remaining will show you how many days are remaining until this individual needs to go through that fingerprinting process again. And what's nice is you can sort these columns in ascending or descending order, but simply by clicking that header here. Clearance letters. Another wonderful thing about the new automated system is those clearance letters are now automatic. When a CBC decision has been reached, the provider as well as the individual will be sent an email with that decision. You can then log into FAMS, come here, go to the clearance letter column for that individual, click the open link here, and this will show you that clearance letter. Now, this is the same clearance letter that you got, make this bigger for all of you, back in January or February, just the process has moved online. So I think that's the really important thing to remember here is that we're just moving, the process has just been moved online, the process, but everything else has stayed the same. But instead of mailing that packet to your regulator, you'll enter that information here instead. You'll see who that letter was sent to, when it was read, and a date associated with that. Lastly here, if desired, you can remove staff from your staff list. So if somebody needs to be removed from your program, maybe they're going on to another program, maybe they're moving to another state, whatever it might be, when you click the end date option here, this will bring you, oops, let's see, where did that open up? This will bring you to the Request for Fingerprints Role Maintenance tab. At the bottom of this tab, you'll enter the end date for that individual. Keep in mind end dating key roles, the board member manager, the business contact, the director, the sole proprietor, the site supervisor, or on-site provider can only be done by your regulator. So do contact them for assistance. This individual, let's say, is a teacher's aide. Her last day at Lily Perkins Childcare was yesterday. Once you enter in the end date, a confirmation window will appear asking you if you're sure you want to remove this person from your staff list. Once they are removed, only your regulator can reactivate this person. You will click Yes, Remove. Your regulator will be notified, and they, just as they did 2 months ago, will be the ones to expunge this individual. You're simply notifying your regulator that you would like to inactivate this person. All right, and that's it for the staff list. If you do have a large number of employees and you don't see them all, there are some filters down here so you can show 10, 25, 50, or all items, and you might have multiple pages, so do be sure to move through those. Once an individual has been fingerprinted, oh, Sabrina, last step, you want me to go through that again real quick? I'd be happy to. So how to request to repeat that last step. So to end date an employee, so to change them from active to inactive, you are not expunging them. Your regulator still does that. You come to your staff list. You find that individual that you would like to remove from your program. You'll come to this last column that says remove from staff list. You'll click end date. This will bring you to the request for fingerprinting services. I'm in that test environment. It usually brings me right to the bottom of this page. Melissa set me straight, but I think they'll do that for you. And what you'll do is you'll enter the end date. So the last date that they were at your program. And let's say this individual, her last date was yesterday. After selecting that, this confirmation comes up and it says, are you sure you want to remove this person? Because once they're removed, only your regulator can reactivate them. So you would click yes to remove. We'll click cancel for today. Once you click yes to remove, your regulator will be notified and they will be the ones to expunge that individual. Good question, Terry. I'm going to call on OCFS here. So if somebody is associated with multiple programs, do they need to do this for each of the programs or once or will expunging them from program A also expunge them from B, C, and D?
They have to do it from each because
That's
we
good.
don't know actually stop working at each.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. So somebody could have stopped working at site A, but not site B. So you will need to go in and do that for each of them. All right, so let's go back to background checks and we'll go back to our staff list. Yep, that's fine. We don't need to save any of that. No, once you put that end date in, your regulator will be notified. And so that replaces the process that you might currently have in place. So they'll get your regulator will be notified and then they can go in and expunge that individual. Great. All right. So once somebody is waived into your program, or if they've gone to Identigo and been fingerprinted, they're going to appear here on your active staff list. Now, if for whatever reason somebody is going to get fingerprinted today, but you also want to get a head start and enter in their 6,000 packet, you can click the new staff button. But again, the recommendation is that you wait for them to appear on this staff list. So let's take Maria right here. We'll pretend that she got fingerprinted last week. I've been checking. She is on my active staff list. So now what I'm going to do is Maria has handed me her 6,000 packet. She is a new employee, meaning that she's just graduated from college, maybe. Well, not her birthday's 1990, maybe not, but maybe she has decided that she would like a career in childcare, and she has never worked in childcare in her entire life. So I sent her to get fingerprinted. She's done that. She's now on my active staff list. And now that I have that paper 6,000 packet here, now I'm going to start entering in her information. I'm just going to check on questions. All right. So we're going to click on her name, and this will bring me to the first step of the CBC packet. Now, because she was fingerprinted, some of this information has carried over, which is really nice, right? Now, if you were entering this person and they had not been fingerprinted, you would need to go through and enter in everything with a star or asterisk. Couple of things to point out here is, has this person ever been known by any other name? Maybe Maria, maybe Lopez is her married name and she has a maiden name. If somebody was known by another name, you can click yes, and then you can add their other name here. So maybe she was Maria Roberto, and click save. And you can enter in as many names as needed, and we have these nice edit and delete actions here. If anything is not filled in, I do recommend that you fill it in, such as that Social Security and alien registration number. While these are not required, they are really helpful to have and could potentially speed along the clearance process. When you're ready to save, you can click the Save button here, and this will save any information that you have entered. Now, as you move through this, you'll notice at the top of the page here that each of the tabs is nicely identified. I will zoom in on this. I know it's a little hard to see. And these all directly correlate to the sections of that 6,000 packet. So you have that paper packet, and what this does is this process replaces you mailing or emailing that packet to your regulator. Instead, you're going to enter that information. As it gets entered, your regulator will get access to that. That's what that CCFS2 is. I'm actually logged in as a regulator today. And so they'll go into their side, and as you send them information through FAMS, they'll be able to see it in CCFS2. But make this just a little bit smaller. We'll go with 110%. All right. So next is our out-of-state information. So you're simply going to go to the 6001 form, and you're going to indicate what they have said on that particular form. Have you or currently do you live in another U.S. state or territory outside of New York State in the last 5 years? If they indicated no, then select no. If they indicated yes, then select yes. Always keep in mind that prior residence in another country does not apply. If they lived in France or Canada or Mexico, you do not need to enter that information here. OCFS is just looking for if they lived in another U.S. state or territory outside of New York State in the last 5 years. So maybe Maria did. We'll click yes. You'll click add another address. Maybe she worked at maybe she lived at 23 Lark Lane. We'll say she lived in Orlando, Florida. Type that in. Oops. Not Delaware. Delaware is very nice though too. We'll put in a made up zip code. And next you'll enter the date that they indicated that they started living at this address and ended at this address. So maybe they were only there for a couple of months. So maybe they were there from 11/10/2022. Oops. We'll say 11/10/2022 to maybe, oops. Oh, month, sorry, 11/2022, but they don't need the actual date, just the month and the year. And maybe she moved back here in, 03/2023. And you'll click save. And you can add as many addresses as needed. Again, you're simply taking that 6,000 packet and entering information as the individual has told you it on that 6,000 packet. Request for fingerprints and role maintenance. There is typically nothing to do on this tab. This is if the individual has not been fingerprinted. Again, OCFS does recommend that they get fingerprinted first, so they're added to your active staff list. This goes through the process, goes through scheduling and making appointments, and also acceptable forms of identification to bring to their appointment. Always remember that those forms must be valid and not expired. at the bottom of this page should look familiar, right? This is where we went to end date that individual a little while ago. This would be the only reason you would come here is if you need to end date an employee. So if they no longer work at your program. Also, once they have been approved, you can change their role as well. So if somebody was, say, a volunteer and now they're going to be an assistant teacher, you would come here, select the role that you would like to request for them, and then click Save, and your regulator will be notified. No changes to make here today, so we're just going to move to the next button, next tab. All right, the criminal conviction statement. This one I've already filled this out. So let me just pause real quick and I'm gonna, you know what, we'll just go through this. So I'll pause there. All right, so here you're going to indicate what that individual stated on their 6005 form. So if they attested they have not been convicted of a crime, you'll select this radio button. If they selected they have been convicted of a crime, you would select this button right here. And a little window is going to pop up that says, "Are you sure?" Because once you select they have been convicted of a crime, this will initiate a check of that, and there's no way to stop that check. You can also upload anything if needed here with the upload button. Now, as you move along, I've been using these buttons down here, previous, save, cancel, and next. You also have these same options at the top here. You can return back home. You can go back to your staff list. You can go to the previous page. You can save with the little blue disc here, and you can move to the next, and then the X is cancel. So this time we'll use the arrow to move to the staff exclusion list check. So collection of the Social Security or alien registration number, as I mentioned, does speed the processing of the SEL check. So if you come to this page and you do have this information, first name, last name, and date of birth will be pulled in from the staff information tab. If you do have this information, click the edit action right here and enter it in. And we don't have that for this particular individual, so we'll just click next. The SCR database, check. So the New York State Office of Children and Family Services, they maintain a statewide central register of child abuse and maltreatment called the SCR. And this must be checked before an individual has regular and substantial contact with children in any child care programs. So those of you that have DCC or SAC programs, you have been able to submit this check, submit this SCR check as well as payment for this for a while now online. Now, if you are a family daycare or group family daycare, this is going to be new to you. So all providers, all licensed and registered providers now will be able to submit the check and payment for the SCR online. So you no longer have to send that via snail mail. You can submit that check and then you can also pay for it with a debit/credit card or an electronic check, which comes right from your bank account. So what happens here is you must first view these OCS terms and conditions. After you view and read these, you will then be able to attest that you have read them. It'll show you who attested by, so the individual logged in and when they attested on. Now you'll be able to submit that form to the SCR site by selecting the SCR online clearance system. And what this does is it simply passes you through to that online clearance system. You'll submit that check and payment, and that's it. So as I mentioned, those that have DCC or SACC programs this is something you've been able to do. So this is just a new way to access it. But those of you with home-based programs, this will be brand new to you. I know there have been questions about this in the past. Patty, are there any things you want to bring up about this before we move on?
So with the SCRs, providers will have, when you click on, after you attest everything, when you click on the link, it'll bring you into the SCR database, and it is linked currently to your FAMS user login and password. If you are a program that has been doing the SCR online clearance prior to this system rolling out, you may continue to also do them or to do them that way. So that is through the process you were using pre the CBC fans pages rollout. So that is available to you as well. But if you weren't, then this is how you're going to be able to do it. And it's quicker. So if you fill it out online and you pay online, you can, the process is a lot quicker because we don't have to snail mail and it doesn't go through a couple different offices before it connects to the right form, and the clearance can be sent to who it needs to be sent to. So it is a lot more efficient.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patty. And there is still a $25 fee, but instead of a certified check or any of that, you'll pay online. Barbara, I think there is a button. It's very self-explanatory. And I'm going to show you too in a couple of minutes where all of our training resources are. And in those training resources, we do have a guide that'll walk you through this. So just gives you more ways to pay for that too. All right, on to qualifications. So anything that you don't enter on the FAMS CBC on the background check here, they do recommend that you keep a paper copy of that. I'm saying that because we're going to the qualifications tab next. We'll use our little yellow arrow. So what the OCFS childcare regulations, they identify qualifications and minimum requirements for caregiving staff in their daycare programs. So do consult the regulations for qualification and minimum requirements for the role for this individual and complete the sections that apply to the role in the program. And you can also attach a resume, which is great. So here, if desired, and this can be a nice idea, you can enter in education and childcare experience and supervisory experience. Again, if you need to enter these will depend on the role that this individual is going to be assigned. If you do choose to enter in information, you must enter in complete information. So for instance, for education, I cannot just enter the year completed in the school. I would need to enter your year completed, school, degree, major, and credit hours. So enter in as much information here as desired. You can also upload documents. So in many of these sections, you'll see an upload button. And remember, things are only required if you see that little star or asterisk next to it. So this is not required, but it could be helpful if you desire, if you want a copy of this here and you don't want to keep a hard copy of it. So to upload anything, you'll click the upload button. You'll then click the Add File button. And I will just do this one for training, right? Isn't that nicely labeled? After you do this, you'll see that the status is pending. You'll confirm the file name is correct, and then you must click Upload. Once you do that, once it's been successfully uploaded, you'll get this green confirmation message. Status has changed to upload, and now you can close it. And now if you come down here, you'll see all the files that have been uploaded. You can view more, you can view that file with, view that document with the magnifying glass, or you can delete it with the trash can. All right, moving on to our next tab, which is references. OCFS requires references to be provided for the office staff with the key role of director, site supervisor, on-site provider, assistant, and substitute. So those are the only roles where references are required. You are more than welcome to enter that information here if desired. You'll just come down here. You'll click Add New Reference. You'll enter in all that information as you see here and click Save Reference. You can also use the Upload button as well. And on to our last tab. Last is the medical statement. So this is an attestation. What you attest to here is that the program has a current medical form for Maria Lopez, that's the individual we're entering information for today, that supports the ability for the staff member to work in child care. Once you select that checkbox, you'll enter the date of the signed medical form. It'll list the name of the individual who's logged into FAMS and when this was attested on, so the date that this was attested on. Now you can also upload a file as well. You see I have uploaded a file for this individual with the upload button. Now if you don't upload the file here, you do need to keep a hard copy of it. And that is entering the 6,000 packet, just looking. See if there's anything good here.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of questions that really maybe Patty could speak to about, do I need to keep my hard copies? Once I've uploaded it, do I need to make sure I keep them?
So anything that is not uploaded in the system, our goal is to have as little paper as possible for everybody's sake. So our goal is to give you the areas where you can upload that information. If you're unable to upload it or you don't want to upload it, you need to maintain that on file because it'll still be reviewed during inspections. So if it's uploaded in the system and the regulator can review it before they're doing your renewal inspection, then that make life easier, I think, for both the agencies and the regulator. But again, you don't have to upload the forms, but you will have to maintain them on file for review.
Great, thank you for that. I saw a question about references, so I'm just going to jump back there real quick. When you click the new reference button, you do need to enter everything with a star or asterisk. So you'll need to enter the reference proof, the type, the reference's first name, their last name, their phone, their email, their language, and the address information. Anything without a star or asterisk, such as their cell phone, and their company does not need to be entered, but you will need to on each page, if you decide if you enter this information, everything with a star is required. All right, so now we're to our medical statement, and this is the last piece of the puzzle. So you'll select save, right, to save your information, and then that information will be saved there. And let's see, just looking to see if there's anything else, but I think that mentions most of it. One last mention about the upload button is that you can take something from your computer. So maybe that medical form was saved to your computer. You can also take a picture, right, with your cell phone or tablet or something. So there's no need to scan in that information. That's one of the nice options about this is that you could access it, say, from a tablet, take a picture of that medical form and upload it that way. And folks that were previously cleared should be in the system already. So if they're not, I would recommend that you reach out to your regulator. Now, if they were just cleared, then, they might not be in there yet. But if there was somebody that was cleared a while back, then they should be in there. All right, we're going to go back to our active staff list here. And then I just wanted to show you once more those outstanding requirements, right? So if there are any requirements still outstanding, so let's take Laura here, she's still under review. I can click the outstanding requirements and this will show me what's necessary to process that CBC. So she requires a decision from the Justice Center, SCR clearance, registry check, and out-of-state review for Florida. So nothing you need to do, this will all be done by others. And then once that decision is made, you will be notified via email as well as the individual. You will come to FAMS as the provider. You can click on the open link here to view that letter. And what's nice about this is that the employee too will be able to come, or household member, volunteer, they'll be able to come into their own version of FAMS and they'll get a very small sliver of FAMS, which will allow them to see just that letter and they can see that letter and print that letter. And Katie, yes, the medical is the last thing that you need to do, and then you are good to go. All right, we have covered a whole heck of a lot of information today. So I want to leave you, and then we'll see if there's any outstanding questions. I want to show you the background checks website. Maybe you've been here, maybe you haven't. I think you're going to be going here in the future. So I'm going to pop over to my last tab here. I'll put this up on a slide in just a minute, but since I was already in my browser, I thought I would come here first. So the New York State Comprehensive Background Checks website is a great place to go should you need any information. Uh, Direct link to FAMS, pretty great. Some new information here talks about what is required. So what's required based on your modality. And what I think you're all really gonna like is the Training Resource and Information Center. Over here on the right, on the left-hand side, we have webinars and recordings. So someone earlier said, oh, I missed the webinar last week. Can I view that? You sure can. We'll post today's webinar here as well. So we'll post our live sessions requesting a waiver. We also have a generic walkthrough in both English and Spanish. And then we have these fabulous instructional user guides. So we've broken down all the different tabs that you saw and broken them into user guides. I know a lot of you had questions about the SCR database. So here's how to complete that tab. We've also included some helpful tips and tricks in here too. These are all available in English and Spanish. And coming soon will be some video tutorials. So these instructional guides we've turned into short videos in case you like to watch a video instead of read a guide. And by tomorrow, we're going to have a comprehensive guide posted, a desk reference, if you will, 50+ pages of fun reading for all of you that will be a compilation of all of these guides here. So lots of wonderful stuff, and we are adding to this all the time. So do come back here uh, whenever you have a question. Speaking of questions, what if you have a question and you can't figure out the answer? Patty mentioned that she's been getting lots of great emails into the help inbox. So this is a mailbox that you can go to for questions and support. ocfs.sm.fams, CBC help at ocfs.ny.gov. This is an inbox. There are experts on the other end here that can answer your questions. And you can also go to the website and or your regulator. And this is the website right here. Go ahead and bookmark that. It will not be changing. And that will hopefully answer a lot of your questions too. Oh my goodness. So let's see. Are there any questions? When do you start using FAMS? You can start using it today as long as you have the login credentials and you're an authorized user for your program. If you're having trouble with that, reach out to your regulator and they can help you. All right, Patty, any questions? I know you and Melissa have been furiously answering them. Anything you wanted to leave this group with or anything you wanted to share with them?
I see the question about the reference from out of the country. If you enter in their information, or well, you have to enter in their information, you can upload the document, or if they have already completed the reference, or as long as you've given the regulator all the information, they can reach out to them in whatever country they're in. There is a lot of questions about, well, if you're a regulator, I saw a question in there. The regulator told them for the CBC clearance part of it, that is everything except for the quals references and medical. The quals references and medical are not required, but it is it is a way for us to be able to, like I said, review that information rather than having to do it on site. So if you want to upload that information for all of your current employees, so that way your regulator can review it before renewal and they won't have to sit in your office for days doing it, that is a benefit. But they are not required to complete the CBC part. The CBC part is your criminal conviction statement, your fingerprints, your SCR, your SEL, your out of states if you have them, and those, or sex offender registry check. So those are your actual clearance requirements. The other 3 tabs are meant for everybody's convenience. You can upload the information if you want it, if you choose to. It's recommended, like I said. You don't have to, but you must maintain the paper on file for review. The other question I saw a lot, and I hope that we get this question a lot, and I'm hoping that that's clearing it up for people. The other question was about the medical form being the last thing to do. You don't have to wait to make that the last thing to do. You can do the medical once your fingerprints are completed and they're on the active staff list. If they have their medical, which meets regulatory requirements, which if you go into the section 11 of if you're SAC regulations or the daycare regulations or even family group family, those requirements are outlined there. So it's like a physical and your TB test. So if the person has had their physical within the past year and they had their TB test, if you want to attest that they've handed you them and upload it, if you want to upload it or maintain it on file, as long as their fingerprints and that medical has been attested to, they can be what we call provisionally approved. They'll get a letter saying that you're provisionally approved. They may start work as long as they are supervised by another employee who has been CBC cleared. So yes, that's the last tab, but that may not be the last thing you have to do, last thing to do. But I hope that cleared up that for you. And I think that's it, Piper. There's a lot others coming in here, but I don't think we're going to be able to answer them that quickly.
They are, and we so appreciate all your questions. We are continuing to make and modify our training materials and also our training sessions, so these will be a huge help to all of us. All right, and with that, we have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's session. But if you do have any questions, again, your regulator is a wonderful person to go to. You can go to this mailbox here for help, or you can go to the website as well. We'll be back next week, and we're going to do a deep dive into the staff list and then answer a bunch of your questions. So I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for taking time out to join us today.